It's late, you're tired, and there's a quiet worry sitting in your chest again. You want to understand investing, but every time you try, it slips through your fingers. You've tried watching videos, you've read blogs, you've opened the apps, but it all feels too fast or too confusing, and deep down, you wonder if you waited too long to start. You keep hearing the same advice: start early, think long-term, take more risk when you're young. But no one slows down enough to explain what those things mean. You want to start, you want to feel confident, you want to know that your money is doing something, that it's working for you, that it's not just sitting still or quietly losing value over time. But right now, you still feel unsure, and that feeling is getting in the way. So tonight, we're going to fix that. Not by rushing you, not by throwing numbers at you. Instead, we'll explain investing the way you wish someone had explained it a long time ago. With soft language, with real examples, and with space to breathe between ideas. No pressure, no shame, no rush. By the end of this video, you will understand the core idea behind investing. You'll know how it works, you'll know why it matters, and you'll know how to take your first step. Even if you start small, we'll talk about stocks, but in a way that makes sense. We'll talk about risk, but in a way that helps you stay calm. We'll talk about compounding and how your money grows while you sleep. And we'll talk about small wins, the kind you can actually do even on a tight budget. You won't walk away with a detailed portfolio plan, but you'll walk away knowing what investing is, why it helps, and how to begin without fear. We'll also talk about the things no one explains, like why it feels so hard to get started, why money brings up so much anxiety, and why it's okay to feel behind as long as you're still moving forward. You don't need to become a finance expert. You don't need to memorize terms. You don't need to impress anyone. You're here because you care, and that is more than enough. In the first part, we'll talk about how most people feel small when they think about investing. Even adults with full-time jobs and bills and credit scores. That feeling of not knowing what you're doing is common, and it makes sense, because many people were never taught how money works. If you were told to save, but never told why, if you were handed a 401k, but never shown how to use it, if you've heard of stocks, but they feel like gambling, then this story is for you. You're not behind, you're not broken. You're not bad with money, you're just someone who hasn't heard it explained slowly yet. So tonight, we slow down. We'll treat every concept like a bedtime idea, one that helps you rest, not worry. You'll hear it, breathe through it, and slowly let it settle. Investing is not magic. It is not a trick for rich people. It is a simple system, one that works best when you don't try to rush it, and one that anyone can learn. You'll learn that investing is not about getting rich quick. It's about getting stable slowly. It's not about winning. It's about resting easier tomorrow than you did today. We'll begin by asking where your fear comes from. Then we'll move into how your childhood shaped your money beliefs. Then we'll explain what investing really means, how it works, and what makes it different from saving. You'll hear why leaving your money in a basic savings account can feel safe, but why that same safety might stop your money from growing. You'll learn how inflation quietly eats at your savings, and why investing is often the best way to keep up. You'll hear about stocks. You'll hear about mutual funds. You'll hear about the market going up and down, but you'll also hear about how to feel steady in the middle of that movement, so your emotions don't make decisions for you. This is not about pretending money isn't stressful. It's about giving your nervous system a break. It's about learning in a way that's kind and slow, so your body stops holding fear when it hears the word investing. We'll talk about how the market works. We'll talk about the idea of risk. We'll explain what diversification means using simple language. And we'll show you how small amounts of money can grow into something meaningful. There is no deadline. There is no race. There is only the next step. And we will take that step together. The second half of this story will walk you through what happens after you start, how to stay consistent, what to expect when the market drops, and how to build confidence slowly, so you don't stop halfway through. You'll also hear about common myths, like the idea that you need a lot of money to invest, or that it's like gambling, or that you have to watch the market every day. We'll explain why none of those things are true. You'll finish this video with a few core truths. That you don't need to be perfect to start, that investing is about building safety, and that your future is worth investing in, even if the present feels hard. So if you've ever felt like investing wasn't for you, or like you missed your chance, or like you're too late to learn, this is your invitation to rest that thought. You're not late, you're right on time, and this is the best moment to begin again. By the end, you'll feel clearer, you'll feel lighter, and you'll feel more ready to take action, not because you have to, but because now you understand why it matters. We'll also close with a reflection, one that helps you see how much you've learned and how small steps can lead to big changes if you let them. So take a deep breath, let your shoulders drop, and if you're ready, we'll begin this story from the place most of us begin. Feeling unsure, feeling small, but still hoping something can change. Because it can, and it will. And what comes next is simple, but more helpful than most people realize. You've heard people talk about investing like it's simple, like it's just something smart people do with their money. But every time you try to understand it, something inside freezes. It's not that you don't care, it's that you've never felt safe enough to really ask what it means. You were taught how to earn money, maybe how to save it, but what about the rest? What happens after you have a little saved? No one ever said what you should do next. They told you things like, start early, or let your money work for you. But how? What does that actually look like? And why does it still feel like something meant for someone else? Someone who grew up hearing words like stocks and portfolios at the dinner table. You want to do it right. You want to make smart choices. But deep down, you're worried that you're already behind, and that fear keeps you frozen. So you don't move forward, you wait. Maybe you have a savings account. You tuck a little away when you can. You feel proud when it grows, but you also know it's not enough. You want to do more. You just don't know how. That feeling, stuck between wanting to act and not knowing where to start, is heavy, and it can make you feel small, like a kid sitting in the back of a classroom where everyone else seems to understand. But here's what you need to know. Most people feel this way even if they don't say it out loud. There's a reason you feel unsure, and it's not because you're not smart. It's because investing is often taught in a language no one ever translated for you, so it stayed out of reach. Not because it's hard, but because it was never explained softly. The truth is, investing is not a secret code. It's not a game for people with fancy degrees. It's a quiet system, one that grows stronger with time, not speed. And it starts with understanding the basics. Right now, you might think you're bad with money, but maybe you're just unpracticed. There's a difference. Being unpracticed means you haven't had the chance. Bad implies you've failed, and that's not what's happening here. Think about how we teach kids. We don't expect them to know everything at once. We give them space to try. We give them permission to mess up and try again. But no one gave you that same kindness with money. Maybe that's why you feel so unsure now, because no one paused long enough to explain it slowly, to help you feel calm before asking you to learn. So your nervous system got loud, and your brain shut the door. Let's open that door together now. We'll go gently. We'll start with what investing really is. Not the complicated stuff, just the root idea. Investing means taking a small piece of your money and placing it somewhere it can grow. That's all. Not gambling, not a game, just a process that works with time and patience. When you put your money into an investment, you're giving it a job, a quiet, slow job, to grow a little, day by day, month by month. Sometimes it shrinks for a while, but over time, it usually grows again. The part that scares people is the waiting. We don't like not knowing. We don't like seeing our money go down. But those small drops are normal. They're part of the process, not signs that you failed. If you've been holding back because it feels risky, that makes sense. Risk feels dangerous when you weren't taught how to sit with it. But not all risk is the same, and not all fear means stop. Sometimes fear means you're doing something new. Let's take a moment here. What's one thing you thought investing required? A lot of money? Perfect timing? A deep knowledge of charts and trends? None of those are true. You don't need thousands of dollars to begin. You don't need to watch the stock market every day. And you don't need to get it perfect the first time. You just need to begin. Even $5 in the right place can grow over time. Even one small step is a real step. And once you begin, the learning becomes easier because it's no longer theory. It's something you're gently living through. This chapter isn't about giving you all the answers. It's about softening the fear so that your mind stops treating investing like a threat and starts seeing it as a tool, a gentle tool that works quietly in the background of your life. Many people never invest because they're waiting to feel ready, but readiness often comes after we begin, not before. So tonight, let this be your beginning, not of doing, but of understanding, of giving yourself permission to learn without shame. If someone had sat beside you as a child and explained money this way, you might have grown up feeling confident. You might have asked more questions. You might have taken more steps sooner, but that's okay, because you're here now. You're not late. You're not behind. You're simply starting from the moment you felt safe enough to listen. And safety matters more than speed. Always. Before we move forward, ask yourself this. What if you don't need to understand everything to start? What if the first real step is accepting where you are? No guilt, no rush. Just one quiet, kind step. As we move into the next chapter, we'll look at something important. Your earliest money memories. The ones you forgot were still shaping your behavior. Because many of your feelings about investing didn't start in adulthood. They started when you were small. You were watching, you were listening, you were absorbing the way money was spoken about at home. And those early lessons didn't always help you feel confident. Some of them taught you to fear, to shrink, to avoid. But we'll look at those next. Not to judge the past, but to understand how it shaped your present, so you can step into a different future. One built on peace, not panic. And all you need to do right now is rest. Let your shoulders drop, let your breath slow. You're doing something good for yourself, something your future self will be proud of. What happens when we finally stop and look back at the story we were told about money? What parts still belong to us, and which ones are ready to be rewritten? Before you learned what investing meant, you learned how money felt. Not through lessons or books, but through watching, listening, absorbing the way kids do. Maybe you saw tension around bills or silence when the topic came up. Maybe you heard money called a problem, or watched someone panic every time they checked the bank. And without knowing, you started building your story. You learned that money was serious, that it could disappear, that there was never enough. Or maybe the opposite, that it made people greedy, selfish, hard to trust. Whatever you learned, it wasn't about numbers. It was about safety. Now think back. Who was the first person you ever saw talk about money? Not on TV, not in school, but in your home. What did they say? How did they act? Did they sigh when rent was due? Did they argue about spending? Did they celebrate when they got a bonus? Or hide the receipt after buying something they wanted? Even in small moments, the message came through. Children don't understand inflation or retirement accounts, but they do understand stress. They feel the shift in tone when adults speak about money. They see the stack of unopened mail. They hear the whispered fights late at night. And in all of that, they begin to connect money with fear. They may not say it out loud, but it sits in their chest like a quiet knot. And it stays there unless something helps it untangle. Unless someone teaches a softer truth. Maybe that child was you. Maybe you grew up in a home where money meant survival, where every dollar had a job before it even arrived. Where risk wasn't a strategy, it was a threat. Where extra didn't exist. So of course, investing sounds strange now. Of course, the idea of putting your money somewhere it could shrink feels wrong. You were taught that every cent matters, that you don't mess with what's working, even if what's working isn't helping you grow. This is where emotional risk meets financial risk. Because it's not really the market that scares you. It's the idea of losing control, of making a choice that turns out badly, of proving that you don't know what you're doing. But let's stop here. Take a slow breath. No one expects you to be perfect. Not now, not ever. Not with money, not with risk. We have to talk about risk clearly, because when you hear that word, your body might tense. But risk in investing is not the same as danger. It's not a red flag. It's a part of the process. Risk means there is a chance something won't go as planned. But it also means there is a chance it will go better. And the key isn't avoiding risk. It's learning how to live beside it. Calmly, thoughtfully, without panic. Think of risk like weather. You can't control it, but you can prepare for it. You carry an umbrella. You don't cancel your whole life. Most people learned to associate risk with loss. But investing isn't about gambling. It's not about throwing money into something you don't understand. It's about long-term patterns. It's about trusting time. The market goes up and down, that's normal. And if you stay in long enough, history shows it usually climbs back up. Not overnight, but slowly, steadily, across years. You weren't taught this. Not when you were young. You were taught to protect what you had, to not take chances, to hold your breath and hope for the best. So today, when you hear about investing, your inner child might whisper, "Don't do it, it's not safe." That voice is trying to help. It's trying to keep you from pain. But it doesn't always have the full picture. You are not that child anymore. You're older now. You can gather facts, you can ask questions, you can learn slowly and act gently. That's what this video is helping you do. To separate old fear from current truth. To see that risk is not something to run from, it's something to manage with care, with kindness for yourself. This isn't about being fearless, it's about being informed. It's about knowing that some risk is worth taking, that not growing is also a risk, and sometimes staying still is what holds you back most. We'll talk soon about how to choose safer investments. Ones that match your comfort level, ones that help you grow without keeping you up at night. But first, we stay here a little longer, in the quiet space where fear and hope meet. Because this chapter isn't just about money, it's about identity. You may still believe you're not someone who takes financial risks. But what if you are? What if that story was never yours to begin with? Maybe your parents had to play it safe. Maybe your community didn't trust banks or the system. Maybe you watched people lose everything in a crisis. And so you promised yourself, I'll never let that happen to me. But promises made in fear aren't always the ones that serve you now. It's okay to be cautious. It's okay to move slowly. But it's also okay to change your mind, to let go of beliefs that no longer fit. To learn something new, even if you were taught the opposite. This is how we begin again, by being honest about where our fears came from and by gently challenging them, not with force, but with curiosity. You are not reckless for investing. You are not selfish for wanting your money to grow. You are not ungrateful for wanting more stability. You are simply ready to think differently, and that is brave. When you see investing as a relationship, not a transaction, everything shifts. It becomes something you care for over time, something you build trust with. And like any relationship, it takes time. You don't have to rush. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to show up. Again and again in small ways. So tonight, as you lie here listening, let yourself reflect on the money lessons you were taught. Which ones helped you feel safe? Which ones still hold you back? And which ones are you ready to rewrite? Because in the next chapter, we'll explore exactly that. How beliefs become behaviors, how stories from the past shape your decisions today, and how, once you understand your pattern, you can finally begin to change it. You think you're making choices, spending, saving, or waiting to invest. But many of those choices were shaped before you knew you were choosing. They came from the stories you heard, the things you saw, and the feelings you carried without even realizing. These aren't always loud stories. They're quiet rules that sink into your bones, like money runs out, or I don't deserve nice things, or if I mess this up, everything will fall apart. They live under the surface, but they guide everything. And unless we pause to look at them, they keep running the show. They decide what you do with your paycheck. They whisper when you consider taking a risk. They keep you from starting because they say, you're not ready. Think about the first time you had money of your own. Maybe a birthday card with a $20 bill inside. Maybe a paycheck from your first part-time job. Maybe a refund or a tip or even spare change. What did you feel? Excited, guilty, protective, afraid it would disappear, afraid you'd spend it wrong. That first feeling matters because it becomes your inner money voice. And that voice shapes what you believe is possible. Not what's true, just what feels true, even if the world around you has changed. If you grew up hearing, we can't afford that, you might still feel that sentence, even when you can afford more now. If you were told, money is tight, you might not trust your own abundance. If you were taught that wanting more was greedy, you might still flinch when you dream bigger. None of this is your fault. It's not a character flaw, it's what humans do. We absorb and repeat until we pause to re-examine. And right now, that pause is happening. That's what this chapter is for. Not to blame the past, but to become aware of how it shaped your present, so you can decide what you want to carry forward and what it's finally time to set down. Let's name a few common beliefs that quietly hold people back. They sound small, but they run deep. And chances are, one of them lives in you too. 1. I'm not good with money. This belief is sneaky. It usually starts young, from a mistake, a comment, a failure, and it grows stronger every time something goes wrong. But not being good with money isn't a fixed trait, it's a skill gap. If no one taught you how to invest, how could you be good at it yet? You don't expect a kid to drive before they're trained. You don't expect someone to cook without ever using a stove. But with money, we expect ourselves to know somehow. And when we don't, we call it a flaw. 2. I'll mess it up. This belief leads to avoidance. You delay, you wait, you distract yourself. because if you don't act, you can't fail. But in that waiting, the pain grows, and it becomes a loop. You feel anxious, you avoid the thing that caused it, but the avoidance creates more anxiety, and now you're stuck. 3. Money changes people. This one is old. Maybe you heard it in movies or from family. Maybe someone said, rich people don't care about others. Or if you want more, you must be selfish. So you stop yourself. You sabotage good opportunities. You feel uncomfortable when you earn more, because a part of you fears you'll turn into someone else. But money doesn't change who you are. It reveals what's inside. For it's too late for me. This belief grows louder with age. You compare yourself to people who started younger. You see posts about compound interest and feel the regret build. But here's what's true. The best time was then. The second best is now. Every dollar you invest today still matters. Every week you stay consistent still counts. It's never too late to build a future you feel safe in. And believing it is only stops you from starting, which is what that belief wants, to keep you still. Now pause, take a breath. Which of these felt familiar? Which ones echoed something you felt before? Even if you've never said it out loud, you don't have to fix it all today. That's not what healing looks like. It looks like noticing. It looks like sitting beside your old beliefs and saying, I see you. I know where you came from, and I choose differently now. Rewriting beliefs is gentle work. It's not fast. It's not about pretending the old ones were wrong. It's about choosing which ones serve you in this moment, and slowly replacing fear with truth. Here's a belief you can try. I am someone who is learning about money. Not perfect, not all-knowing, but learning, and that's enough. Another belief, investing is a skill I can grow. You don't have to know it all today. You don't need to impress anyone. You just need to show up for yourself. One more. My money deserves to rest and grow while I sleep. Not hustle, not fear, but rest. Because you're allowed to build without burning out. You're allowed to want ease. As we move forward, keep asking, where did this thought come from? Who gave it to me? Does it help me grow or keep me stuck? And do I want to keep it? Because the next chapter will guide you through something deeper. The bridge between belief and behavior. How your old stories shape your financial habits today, and how to notice the quiet ways you stop yourself so you can finally begin to step around them. Every day, you make choices with your money. Some are small, like buying coffee or skipping it. Some are bigger, like deciding to pay down debt or hold on to cash. You might think these choices are fresh decisions each time, but often they are habits you've been repeating for years. These habits feel natural. They don't take much thought, but that's what makes them so powerful, because they work in the background, shaping your life quietly. And if you never notice them, they never change. Some habits keep you safe. You might always pay your bills first. You might keep a small emergency fund ready. You might double-check your statements every month. These habits protect you. Other habits might keep you stuck, like avoiding your account when you feel stressed, or putting off learning about investing because it feels overwhelming, or spending every extra dollar because saving feels pointless. These patterns don't help, but they feel familiar. You learned most of these habits a long time ago. They might have started in your childhood home, or during your first job, or in a moment of stress when you needed control, and now they've become the default. Here's the thing, habits are not fixed. They are learned behaviors. That means they can be unlearned, not overnight, but over time. The first step is noticing them. Start with one simple question. What do I always do with my money without thinking? Write it down, look at it clearly. Does it help you or hold you back? If you check your account every morning, is it for clarity or control? If you avoid looking at your balance, is it to reduce anxiety or hide from it? If you save, is it for a purpose or out of fear of spending? Every habit has a reason, and that reason is worth exploring. Let's look at a common habit, spending small amounts without tracking them. A coffee here, a snack there, a subscription you forgot about. It doesn't feel like much, but over weeks and months, it adds up, and it can stop you from putting money toward bigger goals. Another habit is holding too much in cash. It feels safe, you can see it, you can touch it, but it loses value to inflation over time, and that safety starts costing you. Some people have the opposite habit, investing too aggressively. They hear they need to start early, so they throw all their money into the market at once. When it drops, they panic. They pull out too soon, and the habit becomes a cycle of buying high and selling low. Then there's the habit of comparison, watching what others are doing with their money, measuring your progress against theirs. It shifts your focus away from your own needs and toward someone else's pace. And often, you don't even have the full picture. Breaking habits starts small. You don't need to change everything at once. Pick one. Work on it with patience. Build a new, better pattern in its place. If you overspend without tracking, try writing down every expense for 1 week. Not forever, just 1 week. Notice what surprises you. Notice what feels worth it and what doesn't. Let the awareness guide your next step. If you avoid your account, try checking it at the same calm time each week. Light a candle, make tea, turn it into a ritual instead of a chore. Small shifts like this make change easier to keep. If you keep too much in cash, learn about simple, lower-risk investments. Ones you can set and forget. Ones that let your money work quietly while you focus on living. We'll get into those later in this journey. For now, notice if this is your pattern, and if comparison is your habit, practice looking inward. Set your goals based on what you need, not what someone else posts online. Measure your progress against where you were last year, not against a stranger's feed. This takes practice, but it builds peace. There's another layer here. Habits are tied to emotions. You don't just spend because you're hungry. You spend because you're tired, lonely, stressed, or celebrating. You don't just avoid your account because you're busy. You avoid it because it triggers worry. If you want to shift a habit, look at the feeling under it. What are you trying to avoid or create? Relief, control, comfort. Once you know the feeling, you can meet it in a new way. Instead of spending to feel in control, you can set a weekly spending plan. Instead of avoiding your balance, you can set a safe routine for checking it. Instead of keeping all your money in cash, you can set aside a small amount to grow elsewhere. It's not about removing the emotion. It's about finding a better response. Habits around money are powerful because they're automatic, and anything automatic has the power to run your life without your consent. But when you notice them, you get to choose, and choice is where change begins. Even small choice. So as you think about your own patterns, be gentle with yourself. These habits were built for a reason. They served you in the past. Now, you're deciding which ones will serve you in the future. In the next chapter, we'll begin linking your habits to opportunity. Because once you see what you repeat, you can start replacing old patterns with actions that grow your stability. And that's where investing begins to feel less like a mystery and more like something you can do with calm. You don't need to make one big move to change your financial life. Most people don't. Real change often starts with small, repeatable actions. Ones so simple, they feel almost too easy. But when you keep doing them, they build something solid. Think about brushing your teeth. It doesn't feel dramatic. You don't see an instant difference, but the habit protects you over years. Money works the same way. One small action repeated consistently is more powerful than a burst of effort you can't sustain. If you try to overhaul everything in a week, you burn out, you stop, and you end up back where you started. But a slow, steady action can last for decades. The first step is deciding what action you can keep doing without strain. It should fit into your life now, not your dream version of life. If you pick something too hard, you'll stop when things get stressful. So choose a step that feels almost too small to matter. That's the one you'll keep. This could mean setting aside $5 a week, or rounding up your purchases and saving the change, or reading one short article about investing every Sunday. The amount matters less than the rhythm, because rhythm builds trust in yourself. Once you prove to yourself that you can show up, you can build on it. $5 becomes 10. A weekly check-in becomes a habit you look forward to. Learning becomes less intimidating, and slowly, your confidence grows. Consistency is more important than intensity. It's better to invest a little every month for years than to throw in a large amount once and never do it again, because time does most of the work for you. That's the power of compounding. Compounding means your money earns growth, and that growth starts earning growth too. It's like planting a seed and watching not just the plant grow, but the seeds it produces taking root as well. It starts small, but over years, the effect multiplies. For example, if you invest $50 a month into a simple fund that earns 7% a year, you'll have over $12,000 after 10 years. After 20 years, it's over $26,000. After 30 years, it's nearly $57,000. That's without increasing your contribution, only letting time do its job. The earlier you start, the more time works in your favor. But even if you start later, the principle is the same. Every extra month you stay consistent makes a difference. Missing a month here or there won't ruin you. What matters is coming back. One reason small actions work so well is that they reduce fear. If you invest everything at once, you might panic during a downturn. But if you add money slowly, you learn to see the ups and downs as normal. You stop reacting to every dip, and you trust the process. This steady approach is called dollar cost averaging. It's simply investing a set amount at regular intervals, no matter the market's mood. When prices are high, you buy fewer shares. When prices are low, you buy more. Over time, this smooths out the risk. You don't need to be perfect at timing the market. In fact, most experts agree it's almost impossible to do. What you can control is your contribution schedule, and that control is what helps you stay calm, because calm investors make better decisions. Small actions also give you space to learn while doing. Instead of trying to understand everything before you start and learn as you go. You see how your account changes over time. You begin to notice patterns. You might see that you're less stressed when you don't check your investments daily, or that adding money after a drop feels uncomfortable, but usually pays off later. These lessons only come from experience, and experience starts with small, repeatable steps. Here's another benefit. Small actions protect you from regret. If you make a mistake with a small amount, it's easier to recover. You can adjust without losing much. That makes it safer to experiment. And experimenting is how you find what works for you. This is important because no single approach works for everyone. Some people like more risk, others prefer stability. Some want to focus on retirement, others on shorter-term goals. Small, steady actions give you time to figure out your comfort level without rushing. If you're wondering where to put that small amount, start with something simple like a broad index fund. It spreads your money across many companies, reducing the risk of one failure hurting you. It grows with the overall market, and it doesn't require constant attention. But remember, this chapter isn't about which investment to choose. It's about proving to yourself that you can be consistent, because consistency is the real driver of long-term growth, and it's the skill that makes every other money decision easier. Once you trust yourself to show up, the rest gets lighter. You might feel tempted to skip the small steps and go big, especially if you feel behind. But going big without a habit in place is like sprinting without training. You tire quickly and stop. Small actions build the stamina you need. So pick one thing today, something simple, something you can do without thinking too hard, something you can still do on a bad day. That's your starting point. Write it down. Decide when and how you'll do it. Treat it like a commitment. Because this isn't about the money yet. It's about building your identity as someone who invests in their future, one small step at a time. In the next chapter, we'll talk about what happens once that habit is in place, how to take the next step up without losing your balance, and how to let your actions grow into a system that works even when you're not thinking about it. Because that's when investing starts to feel natural and fear finally begins to fade. You have been practicing small actions for a while now. At first, they took effort. You had to remind yourself to do them. You had to think about where the money would go. You had to decide if you could manage it this month. But slowly, something began to change. The effort started to feel lighter. The decision didn't feel as big. Your body wasn't tense every time you moved money into savings or investments. It started to feel normal. That is the beginning of a system. A system is different from a single habit. A habit is something you remember to do. A system is something that happens without much thought. It works in the background of your life. When you have a system, you do not have to rely on willpower every time. Willpower fades when you are tired or stressed. A system carries you forward even on hard days. It keeps your progress moving without needing constant energy, and it helps you stay steady when life gets busy. A system does not have to be complicated. In fact, the simpler it is, the more likely it will last. It can be as simple as setting an automatic transfer from your checking account to your investment account every month. Once it is set, it happens without asking for your attention. You are free to focus on other things while it works in the background. This is why systems are so powerful. They protect you from the emotional ups and downs that can come with money decisions. They help you avoid impulsive choices. They make investing and saving feel like second nature. And over time, They shape your future without you having to think about it every day. The market will always rise and fall. There will be days when the value of your investments is higher. There will be days when it is lower. Without a system, these changes can make you react emotionally. With a system, you keep going as planned. Think about it like a routine in your home. If you always wash the dishes after dinner, you do not have to wonder when they will get done. It is simply part of the day. Your system for money works the same way. It gives you a sense of order and stability. One important part of your system is how often you check on it. Looking too often can create unnecessary worry. Looking too rarely might cause you to miss a needed change. Many people find that checking once or twice a year is enough. This is enough to stay informed without letting emotions take over. A strong system is also flexible. Life changes, and your system needs to change with it. If you earn more, you might increase the amount you contribute. If your expenses rise, you might reduce it for a while instead of stopping entirely. This way, your progress continues even when the amount changes. The key is to keep the system alive. Pausing entirely makes it harder to start again. Even a smaller amount keeps the pattern in place. It sends the message to yourself that this is who you are now. You are someone who invests regularly. Growing your system happens naturally. When your current steps feel easy, you can add to them. It might be increasing your contribution by a small amount. It might be adding a second goal, like building a travel fund alongside your investments. Growth happens slowly, and that is what makes it sustainable. Your system should also feel calm. It should not demand constant adjustments. It should not take up hours of your time. Boring is good in this case. Boring means it is stable. Some people get tempted to make big changes when they hear about a new opportunity. They want to chase higher returns or switch strategies quickly. But most of the time, this hurts more than it helps. A good system stays in place through trends and headlines. It trusts the plan you built when you were thinking clearly. Trust is a big part of this process. Trusting your system means trusting yourself. It means knowing that you are making progress even if you are not watching it every day. It means having faith that your choices will add up over time. And it means giving your money the time it needs to grow. The structure of your system might be simple. Money comes in, a set amount moves to savings or investments. You let it stay there and grow. You repeat this process month after month. The real magic is not in the steps, it is in the repetition. The longer you keep your system running, the more it shapes your life. It becomes part of your identity. You no longer see yourself as someone trying to be good with money. You see yourself as someone who is building stability every day. That shift in how you see yourself changes everything. And when you start seeing yourself differently, you act differently. You protect your progress. You make choices that support your future. You no longer feel like you are guessing. You feel like you are building. Building a system takes time, but it rewards you in ways that go beyond numbers. It brings peace of mind. It takes away the constant decision-making. It helps you focus on living instead of worrying. It gives you a quiet sense of control. As we move into the next part of this journey, we will talk about what happens emotionally when you have a system in place. Because it is not only your money that grows, your confidence grows too. The more you see your plan working, the more secure you feel. And that feeling changes the way you approach everything, from how you spend to how you dream. Confidence with money rarely arrives all at once. It doesn't appear in a dramatic moment. It grows slowly, like a seed that has been underground for weeks before you see the first sprout. At first, you may not even notice it. But one day, something feels lighter. You look at your account and see progress where you used to see stress. You realize you haven't been checking it every day, yet it's still moving in the right direction. You catch yourself talking about money without the tightness in your chest. This is what confidence feels like in the early stages. It's quiet, steady, and rooted in action. Confidence isn't about knowing everything. It's about trusting what you do know. It's about believing that you can make a decision and live with it without constant second-guessing. And it's about knowing you have a process that works, even if the world around you shifts. This is why your system from the last chapter matters so much. When you see your system working month after month, you start to trust it. That trust spreads to the way you see yourself. You go from thinking, "I hope I'm doing this right," to, "I know I'm moving forward." You stop freezing when you hear terms you don't understand. Instead, you feel curious because you know you can learn. In the beginning, you might have been afraid to invest because of risk. But now, you understand that risk is not the same as danger. You've seen small dips in your investments and watched them recover. You've learned that patience pays off, and that lesson changes the way you react to uncertainty. Confidence also comes from knowing what you don't need to do. You don't need to check the market every morning. You don't need to act on every news headline. You don't need to match anyone else's timeline or results. You can let your plan work quietly without pressure. You may notice that decisions feel easier now. When you choose to save or invest, you do it without a long debate in your head. When you decide to spend, you do it without guilt if it's in line with your values. This is because your confidence is no longer built on perfection. It's built on consistency. And consistency is something you control. Confidence also changes your relationship with mistakes. You no longer see them as proof that you can't handle money. You see them as part of learning. If an investment doesn't perform well, you adjust and keep going. You no longer let one setback erase your progress. There's another shift that happens here. You stop thinking of yourself as someone who needs to get good with money and start seeing yourself as someone who already is. That identity change is powerful. It guides your actions without forcing you to think about every choice. It helps you stay committed on days when motivation is low. It reminds you that you are capable. You may even notice that you're more willing to talk about money with people you trust. You share what's working for you. You ask better questions. You don't feel embarrassed about what you don't know. And you can listen without feeling defensive. This is when you realize that confidence isn't just about the numbers in your account. It's about how you feel when you think about your future. Do you feel panic, or do you feel calm? Do you feel powerless, or do you feel prepared? Confidence tilts you toward calm and prepared. But confidence doesn't mean you stop learning. It means you learn with less fear. You try new things because you trust your ability to adjust if they don't work out. You take calculated risks because you understand how they fit into your bigger picture. And you no longer feel like every choice is a test you can fail. One of the clearest signs that your confidence is growing is that you start making decisions for your future self instead of only your present self. You begin thinking about what you want years from now and how your actions today can help you get there. You give your future self gifts, more time, more security, more options. And that mindset shift is where long-term success begins. Because every step you take is building something lasting. Confidence also changes the way you handle setbacks outside of money. Because you've learned to be patient with your financial plan, you're more patient in other areas. You've practiced staying steady when things don't go perfectly. You've practiced trusting a process. That skill doesn't stay in one part of your life, it spreads. This is why the emotional side of investing matters as much as the practical side. The market can grow your money, but your mindset grows your ability to stay in the market long enough to see it happen. Your system gave you stability, your confidence keeps you engaged, and together, they turn your actions into lasting results. Now that you've started to feel this shift, the next step is protecting it. Confidence can grow, but it can also fade if you let old fears take over. The way to protect it is by keeping your system steady, reviewing it when needed, and continuing to learn without rushing. It's about feeding your confidence slowly, the same way you fed your progress. And it's about noticing when you start to slip into old patterns. The more you notice these changes in yourself, the more motivated you'll feel to keep going. And the more you keep going, the stronger your confidence becomes. It's a loop that works in your favor. And once it starts, it's hard to stop, because you're no longer chasing confidence, you're living it. In the next chapter, we'll explore what happens when this confidence starts to shape your vision for the future. When you stop asking, "How do I start?" and begin asking, "Where do I want to go from here?" This is where your goals expand, where investing stops being about catching up and starts being about creating something bigger, and where you begin to dream with numbers that make those dreams possible. Confidence changes what you look for. When you first began this journey, the future might have felt blurry. You thought about it only when you had to, maybe during a stressful bill payment or when someone mentioned retirement. But now, something feels different. Instead of avoiding the future, you are starting to picture it. You see small details, where you might live, how you might spend your time, what your days might feel like when money is not your main source of stress. These images are not random. They are the first signs of clarity. Clarity is not about having every answer. It is about seeing enough to take the next step with confidence. It is about knowing what matters most to you. When you know that your financial choices become easier, you can focus on what moves you closer to the life you want. Your system has given you stability. Your confidence has helped you trust the process. Now, clarity helps you shape the path forward. It gives your money a job that matches your values, and it gives you a reason to keep going when things feel slow. Clarity also helps you filter out noise. You stop chasing every new trend or best investment headline. You can say no to things that don't fit your plan. You can say yes to things that align with your vision, even if they are not the fastest or flashiest. This is when your goals become sharper. Instead of vague ideas like save more or invest better, you begin to set specific targets. You might decide to save for a down payment in 5 years, or build an emergency fund that covers 6 months of expenses. You may also set lifestyle goals. These are not only about numbers, but about how you want to feel. Maybe you want to work fewer hours by a certain age. Maybe you want to take a long trip without debt. Maybe you want the freedom to change careers without panic. Once you have these goals, you can map them onto your system. You can divide your contributions between short-term, medium-term, and long-term needs. You can choose investments based on when you will need the money. You can keep your system flexible enough to adapt as life changes. And you can track your progress in a way that motivates you. Clarity also shows you where you might need to adjust. If a goal feels too far away, you can decide to contribute more or extend the timeline. If your priorities shift, you can change where the money goes. The key is that you are making choices on purpose, not reacting without direction. Another gift of clarity is the ability to communicate your goals. When you can explain what you want and why, it becomes easier to talk about money with a partner, family member, or advisor. You can have open conversations without drifting into fear or confusion, and that makes collaboration much smoother. Clarity can also bring a sense of peace you might not have expected. You know where you are heading. You know why you are making the choices you make. And even if progress feels slow, you trust that it is progress. That trust keeps you from burning out. You may notice that clarity also changes your daily spending. When you know what you are working toward, it becomes easier to decide what is worth your money and what is not. You might find yourself skipping small purchases that do not matter to you because you are more focused on the bigger picture. And this isn't about restriction, it's about alignment. You are choosing to use your money in ways that match your values. You are directing it toward the things that matter most to you. And that makes spending feel more intentional, not more limited. Clarity also prepares you for change. Life will not follow your exact plan. There will be surprises, some good, some challenging. But when you have a clear direction, you can adjust without losing your way. This is where your emotional growth shows. In the past, a setback might have made you feel like you had to start over. Now, you see it as a temporary pause or a detour. You know your system can recover, and you know you have the skills to make it happen. The clearer your vision becomes, the easier it is to celebrate small wins. Every milestone feels connected to something meaningful. Every step forward confirms that you are capable of shaping your future, and that feeling builds on itself. It makes the journey lighter. Clarity also opens the door to dreaming bigger. Once you see that your current goals are possible, you may start thinking about what else is possible. Maybe something you once thought was out of reach now feels realistic. This is how growth happens, one clear step at a time. As you gain this clarity, it is important to protect it. Distractions, fear, and other people's opinions can cloud your vision. Return to your goals often. Remind yourself why they matter, and keep your plans simple enough to follow even on hard days. Clarity does not mean your path will always be easy. It means you know where you are heading, and you are willing to walk the path even when it feels slow. It means you can measure progress without comparing yourself to others. It means you have a personal definition of success. And when you live with that kind of clarity, you begin to make choices with a sense of calm rather than urgency. You invest with patience, you save with purpose, you spend with intention. In the next chapter, we will explore what happens when clarity meets action, how the picture you see in your mind becomes the reality you live, how small steps, backed by a clear vision, can transform into lasting change, and how you can keep your progress safe even when life tries to pull you off track. Clarity gives you a picture, but a picture stays still unless you move toward it. This is where your vision begins to take shape in real life, not in big leaps, but in steady, deliberate steps. Steps that turn ideas into reality. When you know what you want, the first thing to do is break it down into pieces. A 5-year goal becomes something you work on month by month. A large number becomes smaller, reachable amounts. This keeps you from feeling overwhelmed. For example, if you want to save $12,000 in 3 years, You divide it into $4,000 a year, then into about $333 a month. Now, instead of focusing on the full amount, you focus on the next month's step. This method works for investing too. If your vision is to retire with a certain amount, you start with the amount you can contribute now. You add to it as your income grows. You adjust if your needs change. The key is to make your actions repeatable, something you can keep doing without burning out. It is better to start small and keep going than to start big and stop. Your progress builds over time, and the longer you keep going, the faster it grows. This is where your system becomes more intentional. Instead of only putting money aside, you direct it toward specific goals. Your short-term savings might go into a high-yield savings account. Your long-term investments might stay in an index fund. By matching your actions to your goals, you reduce the temptation to use money meant for one purpose on something else. Each account or investment has its own role. You know why it is there, and you know what it is working toward. Your vision also helps you decide what to say no to. Opportunities will come that do not match your goals. Some may look appealing in the moment, but when you measure them against your plan, you can see if they move you forward or pull you off track. This is how vision protects you from distraction. You are not making decisions based on what sounds exciting right now. You are making them based on whether they fit into the life you are building. That discipline feels easier when you know what you are aiming for, because every no makes room for a better yes. Taking action also means creating checkpoints, moments where you look at your progress and see if you are still on the right path. If you are ahead, you can decide whether to aim higher or maintain your pace. If you are behind, you can adjust without panic. These checkpoints keep your plan alive and responsive. Another part of moving from vision to action is preparing for setbacks. Life will interrupt you at some point, an unexpected expense, a job change, a health issue. Your plan should include space for these moments. That space keeps a setback from becoming a full stop. An emergency fund is part of this safety net. It allows you to handle surprise expenses without pulling money from your goals. Even a small one makes a difference. It gives you time to recover without undoing months or years of progress. And it helps you stay steady when things feel uncertain. Taking action also means making your progress visible. When you see the numbers growing, you feel encouraged to keep going. This could be through tracking apps, a simple spreadsheet, or even a notebook. The method does not matter as much as the habit. Looking back on how far you've come strengthens your commitment. Your vision becomes even more real when you share it with someone supportive. It might be a friend, a partner, or a mentor. Telling someone makes your goals feel more tangible. It creates a layer of accountability, and it can open doors to advice and encouragement. But be selective about who you share with. Not everyone will understand your priorities. Some may project their own fears or doubts onto your plan. Keep your vision safe from unnecessary negativity. You know why you are doing this. Protect that clarity. When you take action, you also start to see results in your daily life. You may feel less stressed about small expenses. You may notice more patience in your decisions. You may feel a sense of stability that wasn't there before. These are signs your actions are working. Over time, your actions create momentum. What once felt like effort begins to feel like part of who you are. You stop asking yourself whether you will save or invest this month. You simply do it. This is when the gap between your present and your vision starts to close, and it happens quietly, step by step. The most powerful part of this stage is realizing that your vision is no longer a distant idea. It is something you are living in pieces right now. Each choice you make is part of it, and the more pieces you put in place, the clearer the whole picture becomes. You are building your future in real time. In the next chapter, we will explore how to keep this momentum safe. Because as your progress grows, so will the temptation to change course too quickly. We will talk about how to protect your plan from impulse decisions, how to handle outside opinions, and how to stay focused even when the path feels long. Momentum is a fragile thing. It builds slowly, step by step, and it can feel unstoppable once it's going. But if you're not careful, a few rushed choices can slow it down. This chapter is about keeping your progress safe. The first way to protect momentum is to remember why you started. Your vision and your goals are not just numbers. They represent the kind of life you want to live. When you're tempted to make a sudden change, pause and ask if it supports that vision. Not every opportunity is meant for you. Some will promise quick gains. Some will sound exciting in the moment. But momentum grows from steady, intentional action, not from chasing what's new or popular. Outside opinions can also test your focus. You might hear advice from friends, family, or people online. Some will mean well, some will speak from their own fears. Not all of it will apply to your life. The key is to measure every suggestion against your plan. Does it fit your goals? Does it match your comfort level? Does it align with the timeline you've set? If not, it's okay to set it aside. Protecting momentum also means guarding against emotional decisions. Money and emotions are always connected. Fear can make you sell too soon. Greed can make you take on too much risk. Both can undo months or years of progress. One way to prevent this is to set clear rules for yourself. Decide in advance how much you'll invest each month. Decide what would make you change an investment, and make sure it's based on facts, not feelings. The more decisions you make in calm moments, the safer your plan will be. Another threat to momentum is neglect. If you stop paying attention entirely, you might miss chances to improve or adjust. A yearly or twice-yearly review keeps you connected without creating stress. This is your chance to check if you're still on track. Protecting progress also means having a safety cushion. Life can surprise you with expenses you didn't expect. An emergency fund keeps those surprises from forcing you to stop investing or saving. Even a small one makes it easier to keep moving forward. It buys you time to adjust without panic. Momentum is not only about money, it's also about the habits and mindset you've built. If life changes and you can't save or invest as much, try to keep the habit alive in a smaller way. Even a reduced contribution keeps the pattern intact. It's easier to return to your full pace when you've never stopped completely. Stopping entirely can make it harder to restart. Momentum thrives on continuity, not perfection. The point is to keep going, even if it's slower for a while. That's how you protect long-term progress. Protecting your progress also means protecting your attention. Too much exposure to market noise can make you restless. Daily swings are normal, but they can feel alarming if you watch too closely. Limiting how often you check your accounts can keep your focus on the big picture. Your time and energy are better spent on what you can control. Another way to stay steady is to celebrate small wins. Each milestone proves your system works. Recognizing these moments keeps you motivated. It reminds you that progress is happening, even if it feels slow, and it builds the patience you need for long-term growth. You may also find it helpful to set do-nothing moments. Times when your only job is to let your plan run without changes. This can be especially useful during market dips. Often, the best action is to stick with your system. Your patience becomes part of your protection. Protecting momentum is not about avoiding all changes. It's about making them with purpose. Life will require adjustments, but when you adjust from a place of clarity and calm, you can adapt without losing the progress you've made. The more you protect your progress, the more stable and confident you'll feel. And the more stable you feel, the easier it is to keep moving toward your goals. It becomes a cycle that strengthens over time. In the next chapter, we'll talk about how to use this stability to explore bigger possibilities. When your foundation is strong, you have room to take steps you once thought were too risky. We'll look at how to do that without undoing the work you've done, and how to balance growth with safety. Once your system is steady and your momentum is protected, a new question begins to appear. What else can I do? This is the point where you start thinking about opportunities you once avoided, not because you have to, but because you are ready. Your comfort zone with money is the space where you feel safe. It's built from habits, routines, and rules you know you can follow. It's what kept you steady during uncertain times. But growth often happens just outside of that zone. The challenge is to step out without losing your balance. Expanding your comfort zone does not mean throwing away what works. It means adding to it in a way that supports your long-term goals. You keep your core system the same. You keep your safety nets in place. Then you explore options with a small part of your resources. For example, you might decide to try a new type of investment. It could be adding bonds for stability or stocks for more growth. It might be exploring a side project to increase your income. The key is to do it with intention, not impulse. Every new step should have a clear purpose. Before you try something new, ask yourself how it fits into your vision. Does it move you toward a goal? Does it teach you something valuable? Or is it only appealing because it feels exciting in the moment? You also need to set boundaries for experiments. Decide in advance how much money or time you are willing to commit. Keep it small enough that it will not hurt your core progress if it fails. This protects your stability while still allowing you to grow. Think of it as building a side path next to your main road. Your comfort zone will expand naturally as you gain experience. Something that feels risky today may feel normal a year from now. This is how you grow without forcing it. You give yourself time to adjust. You let each new step become part of your steady rhythm. Expanding your comfort zone also means facing small fears. You might feel nervous putting money into something unfamiliar. You might hesitate to ask a question you think you should already know the answer to. You might feel uncertain when the market moves in ways you didn't expect. But each time you move forward despite that feeling, your confidence grows. It helps to remember that mistakes are part of learning. When you start something new, you will not do everything perfectly. The goal is not perfection, it's progress. Every choice teaches you something you can use in the future. And as long as your core system is strong, mistakes will not undo your foundation. One way to expand your comfort zone is to focus on education. The more you understand, the less intimidating something feels. Read a little each week about the areas you want to grow in. Listen to perspectives from people who have more experience. Then decide what makes sense for your situation. You can also expand by increasing your contribution amounts. If you've been investing the same amount for years, try raising it slightly. Even a small increase adds up over time, and it teaches you how to live with a slightly smaller spending budget. Sometimes, expanding your comfort zone means shifting your priorities. You might decide to save for a long-term dream instead of a short-term want. You might delay a purchase so you can reach a financial milestone sooner. These choices feel easier when your vision is clear. They are not sacrifices, they are trade-offs for something bigger. You may also explore new ways to make your money work. This could be through real estate, small business investments, or specialized funds. Each option comes with its own risks and benefits. By starting small, you learn what feels right for you. Over time, you can expand in the directions that align with your goals. The most important thing is to move at your own pace. Your comfort zone should expand naturally, not through pressure. If something feels too fast, slow down. If something feels too far outside your ability to manage, wait until you're ready. Growth is most effective when it's steady. Remember that expanding your comfort zone is not only about money, it's also about how you think, how you plan, and how you react. It's about learning to see opportunities where you once saw obstacles. It's about believing you can handle change without losing your stability. And it's about choosing challenges that build you up instead of breaking your focus. In the next chapter, we will explore what happens when your expanded comfort zone allows you to think beyond your immediate goals. We'll look at how to plan for dreams that are bigger than what you once thought possible, and how to make sure those dreams are supported by the strong system you've already built. This is where your journey starts to feel less like survival and more like freedom. When you first started this journey, your goals were about stability. You wanted to stop feeling anxious about money. You wanted to cover emergencies. You wanted to build a small safety net so you could breathe. Now, you are ready to think bigger. Bigger dreams take shape slowly. They often begin as small thoughts you push aside, maybe a place you want to live, a project you want to create, a lifestyle that feels far away right now. As your comfort zone has expanded, those dreams feel less impossible. You have seen what small steps can build. You know you can set a goal and follow through. That belief changes everything. Planning for bigger dreams starts with defining them clearly, not just retire early or travel more, but retire at 55 with enough to spend $4,000 a month comfortably, or spend 3 months a year working remotely from another country. Specific goals give you a target. Once you know what you want, you can work backward to see what it will take. You can estimate the cost, break it into smaller numbers, and create a timeline that fits your life. Your existing system becomes the base for these plans. You already have a habit of saving and investing. You already protect your momentum. Now you adjust the flow of your money to match your new goals. This keeps your foundation strong while reaching higher. Sometimes, bigger dreams require more than adjusting contributions. They may require earning more. This can mean asking for a raise, developing new skills, or starting a side income stream that aligns with your lifestyle. Additional income can speed up your progress, but it needs a purpose. Without a plan, extra income can disappear into daily spending. Directing it toward your bigger dreams ensures it moves you forward. Even small increases add up over time. Planning for bigger dreams also means considering risk differently. Some dreams require taking on more risk to reach the goal sooner. Others require more security to protect what you've built. Knowing which applies to your dream helps you choose the right approach. This is where clarity and patience work together. Another part of planning is identifying the milestones along the way. Milestones keep a big goal from feeling too far away. They give you points to celebrate and measure progress. For example, if your dream is a home by the ocean, your first milestone might be building the down payment fund to 25%. It's also important to think about flexibility. Your dream today might shift in the future. You might change locations, timelines, or priorities. A good plan allows you to adapt without starting over. This is why keeping your system simple is still essential. As you plan, balance ambition with sustainability. You want to stretch yourself without creating burnout. A goal that forces you to sacrifice all comfort now is less likely to be sustainable in the long run. Bigger dreams should inspire you, not exhaust you. Part of protecting your plan for bigger dreams is keeping your vision visible. Write it down. Place reminders where you see them daily. These small cues keep your mind connected to your goal and make each action feel more meaningful. Bigger dreams also benefit from long-term thinking. The steps you take now may not pay off for years, but when they do, they can change your life. Knowing this helps you stay patient. It helps you resist the urge to give up when progress feels slow. And remember, bigger dreams do not always mean more expensive dreams. Sometimes they mean more freedom, more time, or more choice. A dream can be about having less pressure, not more possessions. Defining what bigger means to you keeps you from chasing someone else's version of success. The skills you've built so far, consistency, protection, patience, are the same skills that will carry you into these larger goals. They are your safety net and your guide. They are proof that you can handle the journey, and they make every dream more reachable. In the next chapter, we will talk about how to balance enjoying life now with preparing for these bigger dreams. Because the goal is not to put your happiness on hold until the future arrives. The goal is to build a life where you are living well now, while creating the freedom to live even better later. That balance is what keeps your journey joyful and sustainable. When you first started working towards stability, it was natural to focus on the future. You wanted to fix what felt uncertain. You wanted to build a safety net. You wanted to prepare for the life you hoped to have one day. But life is not only about the future. It's also about today. If you spend years only thinking about tomorrow, you risk missing the moments you already have. The challenge is learning how to enjoy both. Balancing today and tomorrow begins with awareness. Ask yourself what makes your days feel meaningful now. It might be simple routines, time with people you care about, or small experiences that bring you joy. These things deserve space in your budget and your time. If you focus only on saving and investing, you might grow your future at the cost of your present. If you focus only on enjoying today, you might arrive in the future unprepared. The balance comes from giving both the attention they need. One way to do this is by setting clear boundaries for each. Decide how much of your income is for building tomorrow and how much is for living today. This turns the choice into a plan instead of a constant decision. It removes the guilt from enjoying what you've set aside. For example, you might put 20% toward your long-term investments, 10% toward short-term goals like a trip, and leave the rest for your daily living. These percentages can change as your life changes. The point is to make them intentional. Enjoying today does not mean spending without thought. It means spending in ways that matter to you. A meal with a friend may be worth more than a random purchase. A class that teaches you something new may bring more value than another gadget. Knowing your priorities helps you spend with purpose. The same is true for time. You can fill your schedule with things that make life feel full now, while still leaving room for work toward your future. This could mean setting aside one evening a week for something fun, or taking small trips instead of waiting for one big one years from now. Balance is built from these choices. Another way to balance today and tomorrow is to connect them. Let your spending today support your future goals. If you dream of living by the sea, maybe you spend weekends learning about coastal communities now. If you want to start a business, maybe you invest in a course that builds your skills now. When you connect the present and the future, your actions feel more unified. You're not living in two separate timelines. You're building a life that blends both. That sense of connection makes the journey smoother. It's also important to plan for joy. Joy is not a distraction from your goals, it is fuel for them. A life with no space for enjoyment becomes harder to sustain. Joy keeps your energy and motivation alive. It reminds you why you're building for the future in the first place. You might also create mini goals for the short term. These give you something to celebrate along the way. They can be as small as saving for a weekend getaway or as big as paying off a small debt ahead of schedule. Each win boosts your momentum. Balancing today and tomorrow requires flexibility. Some years may demand more focus on the present, such as caring for a loved one or exploring a new opportunity. Other years may lean heavily toward the future, such as saving for a home or preparing for a career shift. Flexibility keeps you from feeling trapped. It allows you to respond to life without abandoning your plan. It teaches you that balance is not always a perfect split. Some seasons will feel heavier on one side, but over time, it evens out. It also helps to check in with yourself regularly. Are you enjoying your present life? Are you still on track for your future goals? If the answer to either question is no, it's a sign to adjust. You may find that as your financial confidence grows, so does your ability to enjoy life without overspending. You begin to see that the best moments often come from time, connection, and peace of mind rather than constant purchases. Balancing today and tomorrow is about protecting both. It's about making choices that let you live well now without stealing from your future. It's about seeing your life as one continuous journey, not a waiting room for something better. In the next chapter, we'll explore what it feels like when your balance becomes natural. When the future no longer feels like a threat, and the present no longer feels like a distraction. This is the stage where financial freedom begins to feel real. There is a moment in this journey when something shifts inside you. You realize you are no longer worried about every bill. You no longer tense up when someone talks about money. You no longer feel like the future is a cloud you cannot see through. This is the first taste of freedom. Freedom with money is not about never thinking about it again. It is about thinking about it in a calmer way. It is about knowing you have choices. It is about feeling that your life is guided by your decisions, not by emergencies. And it is about living with more room to breathe. This feeling comes slowly. It is the result of hundreds of small decisions made over time. You did not reach it by luck. You reached it by showing up for your plan again and again. Every deposit, every review, every adjustment brought you closer. You might notice freedom first, in small ways. You say yes to a trip without wondering if it will wreck your budget. You replace something in your home without guilt. You help someone in need without fear of setting yourself back. These moments show you that your stability is holding freedom. Also means time feels different. You do not feel trapped in a cycle of working just to cover expenses. You can think beyond the next paycheck. You can make decisions for months or years ahead. This changes how you approach your work, your relationships, and your goals. It is important to understand that freedom is not a finish line. It is not a point where you stop all effort. It is a state you maintain by continuing the habits that built it. The same systems that brought you here will keep you here. And those systems become easier to follow because they are part of you now. One of the best parts of financial freedom is choice. You may choose to work fewer hours. You may choose projects that excite you instead of ones you feel forced to take. You may choose to live in a place that inspires you instead of the cheapest option. Choice is the real reward of all your work. Freedom also changes your relationship with risk. When you have a strong safety net, you can take opportunities you once avoided. You can try a new career, start a small business, or invest in a dream. Even if it does not work out, you know you can recover. This stage also brings a new level of generosity. When your needs are covered and your future is secure, it feels natural to share more, not only with money, but with time, knowledge, and support. You have the energy to help because you are no longer running on empty. But with freedom comes responsibility. It is easy to let spending grow simply because you can afford it. This is why keeping your goals visible matters. Your freedom is worth protecting, and protection means being intentional with your choices. You will also notice that freedom gives you mental space. When money is no longer your main source of stress, you can focus on deeper questions. What do you want your days to look like? What kind of person do you want to be in the years ahead? The answers to these questions shape how you use your freedom. Some people focus on travel and experiences. Others focus on building something lasting, like a home or a community project. Some use their time to learn, create, or mentor others. There is no single right answer, only what feels right for you. freedom also shifts your sense of security. You know that if life changes suddenly, you can adapt. You trust yourself to make the right adjustments. You have proof that you can handle uncertainty. That trust is a kind of wealth that no number can fully measure. This is when you may start thinking about legacy. Not just the money you leave behind, but the values and habits you pass on. The way you've approached money can inspire others, and the systems you've built can serve them too. Financial freedom is not about having everything. It is about having enough and knowing it. It is about living without constant fear of losing control. It is about feeling at home in your own life. And that is worth more than any single purchase. In the next chapter, we will close this journey with reflection. We'll look at the path you've walked, the lessons that will carry you forward, and how to keep this freedom alive for decades to come. Because the end of this story is really the start of the next one. Reaching this point is not about arriving at perfection. It is about finding a rhythm that feels like home. Your money story has shifted from survival to stability, from constant worry to quiet confidence, from unclear hopes to an intentional life. Peace with money begins with knowing that your needs are met. You no longer spend nights wondering how you will pay for tomorrow. Your system runs in the background, steady and reliable. You have enough set aside to handle life's surprises, and you have a plan for where you want to go next. This peace is not just financial, it is emotional. The choices you make with your money feel aligned with your values. You know what matters to you and what does not. You can say yes to what fits and no to what distracts. There is a deep satisfaction in that clarity. Living with peace also means letting go of constant comparison. You no longer measure your progress against someone else's timeline. You understand that everyone's journey is different. Your focus is on building a life that feels right for you, not one that looks impressive to others. This stage gives you room to be present. You can enjoy a meal without thinking about its cost, in guilt. You can take time off without fearing what it will do to your finances. You can invest in experiences and people that matter most. Your money supports your life instead of controlling it. Peace does not mean you will never face challenges again. Unexpected expenses will still come. The market will still rise and fall. Life will still shift in ways you cannot predict. But now you meet these moments with calm, not panic. You have learned to trust your process. You have seen what consistent, thoughtful action can do. You know how to adjust when life changes. And you know that even if progress slows, it does not stop entirely. Your peace is built on more than good conditions. It is built on resilience. Part of living your money story with peace is staying connected to it. You still review your goals from time to time. You still make sure your system fits your current life. But these check-ins are calm and planned, not rushed or reactive. They are moments of alignment, not crisis. You may also find that peace brings a new kind of motivation. You are no longer driven only by the need to fix problems. You are driven by the opportunity to create something better. This could be for yourself, your family, or your community. Your actions become less about survival and more about contribution. Peace also gives you the freedom to dream without pressure. You can explore new ideas without needing them to work immediately. You can take a chance on something that excites you. You can try a slower path if it feels more fulfilling. Your financial foundation gives you these choices. Another sign you are living with peace is that your daily life feels lighter. Money is no longer a constant source of tension in conversations. Decisions feel more straightforward. And you no longer push away thoughts of the future. You welcome them because you feel prepared. From here, your story continues in cycles. You will still set new goals. You will still make adjustments. You will still learn from successes and mistakes. But you will move through these cycles with stability and self-trust. Peace with money is not about having more than everyone else. It is about having enough to live the way you choose. It is about knowing your worth is not tied to a number. And it is about being able to rest without the weight of financial fear. As you carry this forward, remember how far you have come. There were times you doubted yourself, times you thought progress was too slow, times you wondered if change was even possible. And yet, here you are. Your money story will keep evolving, but the foundation you have built will support every chapter ahead. You have proven to yourself that stability is possible. You have learned that growth is a series of small, steady steps. And you have seen that peace comes from the way you live with money, not just the amount you have. This is not the end of your journey. It is the beginning of living fully within the life you have built. You have space to enjoy today, security to plan for tomorrow, and the wisdom to keep both in balance. And tonight, as you rest, you can know that you have done enough for now. Your system will keep working while you sleep. Your future will keep taking shape, and you, at last, can breathe. You've walked through every part of this journey, from those first moments of uncertainty to the slow steps of building confidence, to shaping a vision that feels clear and steady. You've seen how each chapter connects to the next. This was never about rushing. It was never about trying to know everything at once. It was about taking one clear step and then another and trusting that each one would matter. You learned how to make a system that works quietly in the background, a plan that keeps moving even when you're busy living your life. You learned how to protect it so that progress doesn't get lost in distraction or fear. And you learned how to let it grow into something that feels like freedom. You've seen that money is not just numbers. It is your time. It is your choices. It is the calm in your day when you know the basics are handled. It is the doorway to the kind of life you want. Along the way, you've practiced patience. You've practiced setting goals that fit your values. You've practiced saying no to what doesn't serve you and yes to what matters most. These are skills you will carry for the rest of your life. Your money story now has a different tone. It is no longer built on uncertainty and doubt. It is shaped by clarity, trust, and choice. Even when life changes, and it will, you know how to adjust without losing your way. The freedom you feel now isn't the end. It is a foundation. From here, you can keep dreaming, keep building, and keep living in a way that supports both today and tomorrow. There is no pressure to do everything at once. There is no need to compare your pace to anyone else's. Your story will unfold in the time it needs to, and you will keep writing it, one decision at a time. Peace with money is not about never thinking about it. It's about thinking about it with calm and confidence. It's about knowing you have a process that works and that you can trust yourself to use it well. It's about being able to rest without wondering if you're falling behind. You have built more than savings and investments. You have built trust in yourself. You have built a way of living that matches your values. And you have built a sense of stability that will carry you forward. Tonight, let yourself rest in that truth. You have done enough for now. Your plan is in motion. Your future is taking shape. And you are already living parts of the life you once thought was far away. Breathe in the comfort of knowing you've made progress. Breathe out the weight of thinking it's never enough. You have what you need to keep going. You know what matters to you, and you can face tomorrow without fear. As you close your eyes, remember that you are not starting from zero anymore. You are standing on the ground you've built with the tools to make each next step easier than the last. That is a kind of wealth no number can replace. And tomorrow, when you wake, you will still have your vision, your system, and your steady commitment to yourself. That's how your money story will keep growing, calmly, quietly, and in your own way. You've given yourself something many people never have, the peace of knowing you're on the right path. Let that be your comfort tonight. Let that be the thought you carry as you drift to sleep, because you've earned it.